The opposite of happiness is hopelessness, an endless gray horizon of resignation and indifference. It's the belief that everything is fucked, so why do anything at all?
The uncomfortable truth. Being heroic is the ability to conjure hope where there is none. To strike a match to light up the void. To show us a possibility for a better world, not a better world we want to exist, but a better world that we didn't know could exist. To take a situation where everything seems to be fucked and to somehow make it good. We are a culture in need not of peace or prosperity or anything material. We have all that. We are a culture in need of something much more precarious. We are a culture in need of hope. Our sight needs hope to survive. Hope is the fuel of our mental engine. The opposite of happiness is hopelessness, an endless gray horizon of resignation and indifference. It is the belief that everything is fucked, so why do anything at all? Chronic anxiety is the crisis of hope. The avoidance of hopelessness, that is the construction of hope, becomes our mind's primary project. Hope is what we believe to be greater than ourselves. When people talk about needing to find their life purpose, what they really mean is that it's no longer clear what matters, what is worthy of their limited time on Earth, or what to hope for. Without a community, we feel isolated and our values cease to mean anything. Without values, nothing appears worth pursuing. And without control, we feel powerless to pursue anything. Self-control is an illusion. The classic assumption that we use our rational mind to dominate our emotions. This idea has trickled down through the centuries to define much of our culture today. People judge people based on this. Obese people are ridiculed and shamed because their obesity is seen as a failure of self-control. They know they should be thin, but continue to eat. We see succumbing to our emotional impulses as a moral failure. We see a lack of self-control as a sign of deficient character. The constant desire to change yourself can become an addiction in itself. Changing yourself results in similar failures of self-control, therefore making you feel you need to change again. Each cycle refuels you with the hope you are looking for. But we require more than just willpower to achieve self-control. It turns out our emotions are instrumental to our decision-making and actions. We just don't always realize it. We are only moved to action by emotion. Emotional problems can only have emotional solutions. We should create an environment that bring about the feeling brain's best impulses and intuition rather than its worst. Accept and work with rather than against whatever the feeling brain spews out. Newton's law of emotions. For every action there is an equal and opposite emotional reaction. The idea that we experience pain without justification, without us deserving pain, generates injustice between people, things. A moral gap opens up, one feels inherently righteous and the other inferior. Pain causes moral gaps. When confronted with moral gap, we develop overwhelming emotions towards equalization or a return of moral equality. Our self-worth equals the sum of our emotions over time. When moral gaps persist for long enough, they normalize. They become our default expectation. They lodge themselves into our value hierarchy. This is part of a hope response. If equalization seems impossible, we do the next best thing, accept defeat, give in and judge ourselves as inferior and of low value. Your identity will stay your identity until a new experience acts against it. The longer we hold a value, the deeper inside the snowball it is, and the more fundamental it is to how we see ourselves and how we see the world. Our values compound over time, growing stronger and coloring future experiences. The only way to change our values is to have experiences that are contrary to our values. And any attempt to break free from those values through our new or contrary experiences will inevitably be met with pain and discomfort. There is no growth without discomfort. How to make all your dreams come true. If someone really could solve all your problems, they would instantly go out of business. Leaders need their followers to be perpetually dissatisfied. It's good for the leadership business. If everything were perfect and great, there'd be no reason to follow anybody. True freedom doesn't really exist because we all must sacrifice some autonomy for stability. Everything is fucked. It always has been and it always will be. There are no solutions, only stopgap measures, only incremental improvements, only slightly better forms of fuckedness than others, and it's time we stop running from that and instead embrace it. This is our fucked up world, and we're the fucked up ones in it. We must have faith in something. But experiencing our hopes, we lose them. Because the only thing that can ever truly destroy a dream is to have it come true. Hope is fucked. Science is arguably the most effective religion because it is the most effective religion because it is the first religion that is able to evolve and improve upon itself. It is open to anybody and everybody. It is not moored to a single book or creed. It is not beholden to some ancient land or people. It is an ongoing, ever-changing body of evidence-based beliefs that can grow and shift as evidence dictates. Ideologies, because they are constantly challenged, changed, proven and disproven, offer scant psychological stability upon which to build one's hope. And when the ideological foundation of our belief system and value hierarchies are shaken, it throws us into the uncomfortable truth. Experiences generate emotions. Emotions generate values. Values generate narrative of meaning. And people who share similar narratives of meaning and come together to generate religions. The more disciplined and industrious the religion, the more likely it is to spread to give them a sense of self-control and a feeling of hope. These religions expand and define in groups and out-groups, create rituals and taboos and spur conflict between groups with opposing values. These conflicts exist because they maintain the meaning and purpose for people within the group. What a life without hope may look like. The formula of humanity. Everything is seen as a trade-off. Adolescents approach life as an endless series of bargains. I will do what my boss says for money. I will call my mother so I don't get yelled at. I will do my homework to have better chances in the future. Nothing is done for its own sake. Everything is a means to some pleasurable end. Everything revolves around maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain. If you have to convince someone to trust you, they will never trust you. The most precious and important things in life are non-transactional. Honesty is inherently good and valuable in and of itself. Honest is therefore an end and not a means to another end. When you enforce freedom, you negate freedom. When you try to create equality, you undermine quality. The most dangerous extremists know how to dress up their childish values in the language of transaction or universal principle. If someone says they desire freedom above all else, they are willing to make sacrifices for that freedom. But what they really mean is they want freedom from having to deal with any values that do not map onto theirs. Therefore, they are willing to limit and destroy the freedom of others in the name of their own freedom. Pain is the universal constant. The blue dot effect. Humans warp their perceptions to fit their expectations. Researchers showed participants a large number of threatening faces, but as the experiment went on they showed fewer and fewer. The subjects then began to misread friendly, neutral faces as being threatening. They had a preset number of threatening faces it expected to see. People's minds moved the fence to maintain the perception that a certain number of faces were threatening without being aware they were doing so. Ultimately, the better things get, the more we perceive threats where there are none, and the more upset we get. This is the heart of the paradox of progress. If everyone stopped killing each other, we wouldn't feel good about it. We would get equally upset about the minor stuff. Living well does not mean avoiding to suffer, it means suffering for the right reasons. Because, if we are going to be forced to suffer for existing, we might as well learn how to suffer well. Death is psychologically necessary because it creates stakes in life. There is something to lose. Pain is the currency of our values. Without the pain of loss or potential loss, it becomes impossible to determine the value of anything at all. When we pursue pain, we are able to choose what pain we bring into our lives. And this choice makes the pain meaningful. It is what makes life meaningful. The feelings economy. The more you numb pain, the worse it becomes, thus impelling you to numb it further. Most economic progress switches from innovation to diversion, from upgrading pain to avoiding pain. Real freedom is not choosing the thing you want in life, it is choosing what to give up. Diversions come and go. Pleasure never lasts. Variety loses its meaning. But you will always be able to choose what you are willing to sacrifice, what you are willing to give up. Greater commitment allows for greater depth. A lack of commitment requires superficiality. Fake freedom puts us on a treadmill chasing more, whereas real freedom is the conscious decision to live with less. Fake freedom is addictive. No matter how much you have, you always feel as though it's not enough. Real freedom is repetitive, predictable, and sometimes dull. Real freedom is seeing the world unconditionally, with the only victory being over your own desires. Fake freedom requires the world to conform to your will. Real freedom requires nothing of the world. Democracy can only exist when you are willing to tolerate views that oppose your own, when you are willing to give up some things you might want for the sake of a healthy and safe community. When you are willing to compromise and accept that some things don't go your way. The final religion. While technology has liberated much of the planet from poverty and tyranny, it has produced a new kind of tyranny, a tyranny of empty, meaningless variety, a never-ending stream of unnecessary options. The key message: don't hope for better. Be better. Be something better. Be more compassionate, more resilient, more humble, more disciplined.